Good morning. How you doing?
Morning.
This wonderful morning.
I'm great. Thank you very much, Dr. Samaj.
Ah, I can imagine what it's like on your beach at this time of day.
Very empty.
The joy of solitude. How about that?
Yes.
Listen, today we're talking with a man who is synonymous with tourism, hotelier, Josef Forstmayr. I've, I've always known you as being a hotelier. Have you done anything else since you've been in Jamaica?
Well, no, not really. I came to Jamaica in 1979, actually, and that's my entire life. My entire professional life was spent in Jamaica. I grew up in the business, and I went to school to study, tourism and hotel management. But my career and everything I have achieved is due to what Jamaica has allowed me to do. So, while I may not be born here, I'm totally immersed in every aspect of Jamaica's tourism development.
At one time, you were the JHT President, weren't you?
Yes. And I was, Jamaica has been very good to me and have always allowed me to play along. I was first Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce President, then JHT President in the early 2000s. I was there when September 11 happened. I was there when West Kingston happened. I had just been elected, so West Kingston was my first challenge in June of 2001, and then it was September 11 in 2001. So it was a real challenging beginning for my presidency, then I was elected as president of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourist Association in 2010, which was right in the middle of the financial crisis. I was always sort of kind of right at the right time, at the right spot when things were falling to pieces.
Well, clearly you were needed. No,
well, I'm not so sure, but I tell you, it taught me a lesson. It taught me how resilient Jamaican people are, how resilient Caribbean people are, and how much they pull together when there is real trouble. And that's something that we all should be very proud of, and we should value it, and we should try to celebrate it. And however, never forget that only together can we achieve to overcome our issues.
Absolutely. Now, first question: how has COVID-19 impacted you personally? Let's start with you.
Well, I was traveling actually. When I still attended what was then supposed to be the largest trade show in Berlin, Germany, called ITB in early March.
Yes.
I was on the plane actually flying to London to go to Berlin when it was cancelled. So I decided to sort of do some business in London, attend some trade shows there, and work with my travel partners there. And then I came back on the 10th of March, which was the day when we had our first confirmed case in Jamaica.
Yes.
And put myself immediately, before there was such a thing as self-quarantine, I decided to go into self-quarantine for 2 weeks, so not to endanger my staff, who had already started to freak out about this whole COVID issue. And I'm glad I did. I mean, I was able to very shortly, focus everybody on working from home, to get the people that did have laptops and computers and connectivity. And we have a very good connectivity system and integrated hotel management system that allows us to do what we are doing now. Zoom obviously has taken off, and there are others. So we have basically learned from the beginning that it is a necessary evil, and that we have to take strong action to keep the virus out of Jamaica, and once it's in Jamaica, to keep it as close to its origin as possible, meaning that you follow each infection and each center of infection in order to ensure that it does not get into the community.
A question. I mean, you live on property?
Yes, I do. I have a house at Round Hill. Mm-hmm.
Yes. What a place to be quarantined.
I'm annoying everybody by sending beautiful photographs every morning because But it is true. I mean, I'm blessed, you know, and I thank God every day that I'm here and I'm in Jamaica, and that we are as resilient as we are, and that we will we will have to overcome this.
No, okay, now let's expand the concept now. The impact on Round Hill. How has COVID impacted?
Well, March 22nd, the last guest checked out, which was a Sunday. We were caught. Jamaica was caught completely off guard at the midst of its busiest time in the tourist winter season. That hit incredibly hard. It took a week actually between the 22nd to the 29th to get all the remaining guests that were left and stranded in many of our larger hotels off the island. And now we got the last guest out already on the 22nd. But it was it really shut down the industry completely, from working at all cylinders and powering it on all cylinders to all of a sudden standstill, which was dramatic. It was dramatic for us that are working in the industry, because all of a sudden you did not wish to have people come to work anymore. You didn't wish to expose them. We didn't know what the protocol was, physical distancing and safety. So you asked everybody to stay home as much as possible, not come to work, but still provide them with an income.
Yes.
The first 3-4 weeks really, that we had to grapple with is how do we carry our team, which is the basis of our industry. I mean, this is, no matter how pretty your place is, it is the people that provide the hospitality that really offer and become Round Hill. So therefore, they are your most important aspect. Yet it's also extremely expensive to maintain a payroll when you are hemorrhaging, money. And I'm not just hemorrhaging, but you can't control the hemorrhaging because many of your guests have prepaid for reservations down the road. Those monies that were in your bank account immediately start to completely disappear. And American Express starts to charge you back huge amounts of money, and all of a sudden you start ending up, sending American Express large refund checks. And so therefore you can't control your cash flow. And as you know, in a crisis, cash is king. And if you can't control your cash, and you don't have and we are fortunate at Round Hill that we don't have loans, but let's say you have loans and you have to repay loans, and you come out automatically out of your incoming cash, then you know how difficult the situation it is for many of our operators in the industry who are leveraged to a certain extent, because nobody sort of usually builds hotels or builds a business without being leveraged to a certain extent to their bank. And that's very stressful.
So there are clearly some critical factors then. The size of the property is one factor. Whether the property is built on large loans where you need to service these loans, or it is something already established, and what's a sweet spot in terms of size that could get you up faster, get you running? What's the sweet spot?
It doesn't really. Yes, size is important, but it's really, as you correctly said, it's the leverage. It's leveraging it. I mean, it's how much money have you borrowed to create the business, and most of our businesses are created to a certain extent with borrowed funds. I mean, that's what banks do. That's what business people do. And depending on that element, the best, obviously, in a crisis like this is if you don't have any borrowed money at all, and that's when you start to be able to control your cash flow better. If you don't have that, then you have to have a good relationship with your banker, who hopefully will assist you through a period of time. They don't like to assist you forever, but it's for 3 months, for 5 months, maybe, but anything beyond 5 months becomes a real problem. So therefore, the sooner you can start to think of coming back into business and opening up your doors, the sooner your banks are going to be willing to work with you more. And that's the big problem we're in right now. Where we have yet to be told when the industry can reopen. So therefore, many of our operators, both small, medium, and large, are unable to plan with their lending agencies on how they can continue to carry the business forward.
There was an article recently where one big player indicated that with 35% occupancy, they could break even, but they're not going to go above 75% occupancy so as to maintain proper
Services.
social distancing and so on. Is that a function of size? Because if you're a 200 room, 35% is very different than if you're a 1,000 room.
I think it also depends on the type of resort you are. I would think the resorts that will have it most difficult are the larger all-inclusive resorts, obviously.
Yes.
With the type of service they offer and the type of amenities they have are very much based on quantity. And
yes.
If you have to cut back on your quantity, and don't forget, we all start to make serious money once we hit that sweet spot of 75%. I mean,
yes.
Everything below, you're servicing your quality. And everything above 75% is starting to end up in your pocket. So if you have to remain below 75% occupancy, you are going to somewhat, at certain times of the year, support your business and finance it out of your pocket rather than making money. So there is no such thing as making money consistently if you're only at if you're running 75%
or below. Definitely. Okay, now, what does reopening tourism look like? What does it sound like? What are the steps that would have to take place? Because I read an article recently in Forbes magazine, and I actually visited your website and your blog and your IG page, and I see how you're keeping your guests, engaged. But what would reopening mean to you? What would be the first step?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, look to your loyal customer. Fortunately, we have a very loyal customer base because Roundhill has been able to build over many years a tremendous following, and the following that supports us and supports our community efforts, our charities, etc. So we have a real loyal base there. And I mean, obviously, it's something that is usually on the wealthier side. I mean, they go into luxury resorts, and they tend to travel more in the winter season. They're not necessarily your summer client that looks more at good value for money. So we are trying to sort of keep them engaged to make sure that they come back as of November going into December, January, February, March, April, because that's my core audience. And I think we have been able to do that. What we're also doing this year, since we are closed now, and we will remain closed probably for the next few months, we will, instead of closing in September for annual renovations, we are going to do renovations now. We're going
you move your renovation forward.
We're putting it forward. We are going to start opening hopefully in September to ensure that we can train our team on the new protocols. I mean, I must give credit to our Minister of Tourism, who has been, as you know, very much sort of on the crisis management front from before COVID. I mean, that's the Crisis Management Center has been something that has always sort of been a pet sort of project of his. Now, never did he in his wildest dreams imagine that he has to deal with a worldwide crisis of such magnitude. But I can tell you from January, we had formed a stakeholder group of people from various agencies of government that could potentially map out a roadmap on how to deal with a crisis of such nature. And so therefore, I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve. We have adopted and we have learned what other countries are doing in terms of best practices and protocols. And so right now we are at the stage where each property, depending on its size and the quality of its product, can start to adopt certain protocols of social distancing, hygiene, extra cleaning, and the staff and the guests safe once the industry does reopen. And that's the process we're going through right now in all the properties. And then we establish our own SOPs, or standard operating procedure, based on our product. And will then expect us on these SOPs and say, okay, you're ready to reopen in a better, safer, more hygienic way for your guests and staff than you were before, and therefore we give you the green light to open up, should the industry open up.
So clearly, but the first thing, even before you reopen, the country borders have to be reopened.
No, absolutely.
That's step one.
Without open borders, nothing can happen. I mean, I think,
okay,
if we talk about local tourism, it's very important to all of us. And the Jamaican traveler is a very important element in the overall picture, but it is an element that will not sustain the industry. It can purely act as an addition to what we have built. I mean, we cannot sustain the industry purely on local business. So we have to have open borders. We need to provide, we need to work with our international partners, being the airline partners or governments for that matter, to ensure that whatever protocols I place on their side are not penalizing travelers, meaning Canada, for instance. As you know, Canada has protocols in place. If once you travel in June and you come back home, you must go into 2 weeks of quarantine. Now that tells me that not a Canadian is going to fly to Jamaica, because you go on vacation for 4 days and then you go back and you have to be 2 weeks in quarantine. That's not going to work.
yes.
So, things of that nature need to be worked out government to government, and then obviously the tourism industry and the Minister of Tourism and TPDCO and CHAMVAC need to work with airline partners to say, what are your protocols? What prepares you to fly back to Jamaica? What do we need to do at our airport? How do we need to receive visitors? How do we, if we start to demand, quarantines for guests in their hotel rooms, then we might as well not open the borders, right? If we demand such stringent require people to spend a lot of money to get a test that's not older than 72 hours that you even may not be able to get, then we're not going to open, fill up the planes. And whatever we do, remember, you have to apply the same level to your Jamaicans that are coming back home.
Exactly.
This
But
is
question then, can we bypass those two things you mentioned? The whole thing about quarantine and testing.
Well,
Can we open without those two things?
I tell you what we're looking at right now is, how some European countries that were badly affected by the virus, namely Central European countries. I happen to be Austrian, so I'm very connected on that side. But
yes.
they were on lockdown for almost 90 days. They are now slowly opening up. They are all opening up to their neighbors who have equally low new infection rates. So what it means is, if you can open up your borders to countries with low infection rates, then you can eliminate quarantine, eliminate testing, and you can hope that the people and the flow of business that comes from those countries is equally on the same level as your own population. Now, we don't know how it actually works out, because these countries are starting to reopen their border by the middle of June. So then we will know. Now, what does that mean for Jamaica? Well, as you know, our main market is up north. It's the USA.
Yes.
The USA, unfortunately, has had so far very little control of the virus. I mean, they have not done a great job, so we are somewhat exposed. And you have then the UK, which is another important market for Jamaica. And there you have very stringent lockdowns, and you don't even know when the country is going to open up yet, and when airlines are allowed to fly in and out of there again. So, I think at earliest the industry looks somewhere towards maybe July that we get a date, an announcement of when the industry can reopen.
Well, how what you have outlined is clearly a realistic model, and that notion of using the time now for your refurbishing, how widespread is that among your peers?
Well, it depends on your cash flow.
Cash flow, yeah.
It depends how much money you have available to do that. And usually, you know, if you have no cash coming in, you have to use savings in order to do that. So you know, in our case, obviously, we are slightly better off because I have owners who are prepared to spend out of their pocket whatever funds is necessary to bring their product and their properties to a certain level and up to a certain standard. That is something we do every single year. So I will have that ability. Now, how many others can do that? I don't know. I know some properties are now considering to expand because this is a time of depression. Some properties may find it best to expand because real estate is cheaper and you know, there is opportunity in a crisis. I mean, there's a famous saying, you know, that says, you know, never waste a good crisis, you know. So
absolutely.
Anybody with the ability to raise money and raise funds and have the banks behind them to expand is going to do that. I mean, I think we have seen that with sandals, for instance. I mean, I always say that, you know, and we have to remind ourselves ever so often that this is a homegrown company. I have said this over and over, and I'm obviously not promoting sandals, but the fact that we have a product which is Jamaican, which went all across the Caribbean, which is probably the most copied all-inclusive product worldwide, because, you know, all the other Spanish hotels looked at our product first, be it super clubs and then sandals, and copied us and made it bigger, you know, and then created a massive product around it. But sandals has always maintained sort of middle of the line size. They have never grown huge in terms of individual properties, and they have always sort of seen opportunity in crisis and then reinvested to bring their properties, you know, a step up away from the regular competition that was coming. So, you know, I see that again happening now. I've seen 2 hotels from the Jewel brand that are now going to become sandals resorts, and I'm sure sandals will spend money to upgrade them and to make them as luxurious as all their other properties. So there is some of that happening right now.
Going forward, some things will be done differently, of course. Like the buffets are now finished.
Well, I think there will be yes. I mean, as first glance, how we do business is going to be different. How long will that last? I don't know. I mean, I think it's all, you know, it all will boil down to what the customer wants.
Yes.
I mean, right now we know that the customer wishes to be safe and wants to be, you know, reassured to see a lot of cleaning going on, a lot of hygienic activities going on. We don't yet know what the customer may want in another 10 to 12 months, or whenever there is a pill that we can take, you know, to keep us out of the hospital with COVID, or how much, you know, or if there's a vaccine. I mean, so I would hate to say that, I mean, that's why I responded to your Facebook, you know, comment that the industry is going to change. While I would love to see change, and I would love to see us to become more environmentally aware, to link more with our local services and opportunities, from the farming to the communities to our history. I mean, all that hopefully is going to happen, but it can't.
But you have
happen.
been doing that. You have been doing that in terms of environmental, in terms of community links.
I know we do a lot of that, and you know, and in all fairness to our industry, it's actually happening a lot more in Jamaica than in many other places in the Caribbean, because we have such a rich agricultural sector, we have such a rich natural environment, and we have such a beautiful, a very interesting and varied history. So there is a lot of that available in Jamaica. Now, we can do a lot more. I mean, I always look at Costa Rica, for instance, but then, you know, it's always dangerous to look at Costa Rica because they seem to do everything very well, you know?
Yes.
So they have adopted something that is very environmentally conscious, and they carry it through entirely. Now, it works for them very well. If we can copy a little bit of that, if we can become a little bit more aware of our built-in, I mean, our environment, continue to enforce our environmental regulations a little more, make sure that our guests get more in tune with Jamaican culture, moves. I think it will all benefit us. Will it do away with buffets? I have a problem thinking that. I think buffets will be different. Will it be the end of buffets? I don't think so. I mean, people like to choose what they want to choose. Now, we may have to have more staff on the buffets. We may have to have a lot.
So a hybrid buffet. I mean, that there's a glass and you point to what you want.
Absolutely.
And somebody serves it. That's a hybrid. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there are many ways. I mean, the guests, how they check in. We may have apps on your cell phone, so you can check in on your app as you land at the airport. You can be picked up as you get into the hotel, go straight to your room, fill out your forms, so that certain contact eliminated, a certain amount of mass sort of areas are being improved on. So I think the opportunity is here to do things better, organize things better, to do things a little faster. I don't think we will necessarily have as much personal contact in the beginning, which bothers me, because personal contact is what we are best at.
But the guest may tell you, listen, I really don't need maid service at least every other day. I mean, I rather less people coming into my villa.
I can see some of that happening in the beginning, for sure. You're absolutely, and it's part of our protocols. We will give guests opportunity to select what their desired services will be. How often do they wish to have these services? And I mean, certainly from the Rounds perspective, that we will give you a menu of services, and you can actually then structure your environment and how you wish to actually live your vacation at Round Hill, so that it's your decision. You let us know how you want to structure your stay. Do you want spa services? How do you want the spa service? Do you want it in your room? Do you want it in the spa? Gym, do you want personalized classes? Do you want classes with others? So, there's a lot of it will be focused on individual needs and requirements, and obviously you'll have.
It sounds like you've really been thinking it through, and it sounds like it's making a big difference. And I've had the personal privilege of working with your staff from the highest level to the line staff level, and you pull together an incredible group of people, and I'm sure that they are excited about the future as you are.
Well, they are our bread and butter, I always say. They make us. It's our team that works here. They are proud of it. Many of them have been working here for a second and third generation already. They built the place with John Pringle originally, Hopewell, community down Hill. So, there is a tremendous sort of protective shield around us that ties us together with all the issues that we are faced with at times. So, I'm absolutely confident that we'll come through this stronger and with new ideas and ultimately, hopefully, with a product which will appeal to the same audience who is willing to pay for it and continue to return back to Roundel and to Jamaica.
Josef Forstmayr, great talking with you, and I hear the energy, and I'm sure you're infecting the people around you that this too shall pass. Huh? This too shall pass.
It will. As I said, it's something that none of us thought we could handle. But I always remember, our grandparents and great-grandparents went through various world wars, and they suffered through famine and persecution and all kinds of horrible things. So I think this is just sort of a first test for us who have really never gone through anything like that. So, we must survive this.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what the property looks like when it reopens. Huh? I bet I have some excellent meals there.
Please, all right? Please come and join us, all right?
Enjoy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stamaj.
My pleasure speaking.